Today, you're not just going to see 50 psychology facts about human behavior. You're going to see them through the eyes of dark psychology. Because what if I told you 99% of people misunderstand what these behaviors actually mean? They think they know, but most of the time, they only see the surface. Let's begin and uncover the patterns hidden right in front of you. 1. You think overthinking means you're weak, but it only begins when something doesn't add up and no one's giving you real answers. The spiral isn't madness, it's a signal. 2. You believe being silent keeps the peace, but in dark psychology, silence is how manipulators teach you to fear your own voice. You're not being mature, you're being trained. 3. You think helping everyone makes you a good person, but to the wrong people, your kindness is just a free pass to skip accountability. You're not healing them, you're enabling them. 4. You think if you do everything right, you'll be loved right, but people don't love perfect. They love power, and the more flawless you act, the more they test where you'll finally break. 5. You think it's love because it hurts when they're gone, but pain isn't proof of love. It's often the aftershock of emotional control. 6. You think if they come back, it means they care, but in dark psychology, returning is often a strategy, not a sentiment. It's called re-hooking, not reconnection. 7. You think you're shy, but you were just taught that being invisible is safer than being rejected. This isn't your nature, it's your conditioning. 8. You think they don't understand you, but sometimes they understand you perfectly, and use that understanding to push your buttons. Manipulation doesn't need misunderstanding, it thrives on precision. 9. You think guilt means you've done something wrong, but toxic guilt is how emotionally dominant people reprogram your instincts. 10. You think you're too emotional, but in dark psychology, emotional sensitivity isn't weakness, it's threat detection. You're not overreacting, you're reading the room better than they wanted you to. 11. You think jealousy is proof you love them, but in reality, it's often a trauma echo. You're not guarding love, you're guarding wounds. 12. You think it's loyalty to keep forgiving, but repetitive forgiveness becomes a blindfold, and they know exactly how many times you'll close your eyes. 13. You think self-blame means growth, but some people taught you to take the bullet so they'd never have to reload. 14. You think people treat you the way they feel, but in dark psychology, people often treat you the way they want you to feel, and they're very strategic about it. 15. You think walking away is cruel, but staying where you're shrinking is slow self-erasure. 16. You think success will silence your doubts, but unhealed manipulation keeps whispering even in loud victories. Your wins don't scare the voices, they expose them. 17. You think being the bigger person is maturity, but sometimes it's just quiet surrender with a prettier name. 18. You think time will fix what people broke, but time doesn't heal when they're still in your life, still making the same cuts. 19. You think the right person will never trigger you, but real connection always hits raw nerves. The difference is, safe people help you heal, not hide. 20. You think it's smart to ignore your instincts, but those gut feelings are emotional fingerprints. Once you ignore them long enough, someone else starts writing the story. 21. You think someone getting close is always good, but closeness without clarity is just access. Not everyone who touches your soul deserves to stay in it. 22. You think they changed because they said so, but in dark psychology, change isn't in the apology, it's in the pattern. 23. You think you lost because they left, but some exits are blessings in disguise. When someone walks out, sometimes peace walks in. 24. You think you're over it, but it still shows up in how you hesitate, how you second guess, how you don't trust joy. You didn't heal, you adapted. 25. You think awareness makes you cold, but in reality, it finally gives you the emotional firewall you were never. 22. You think they changed because they said so, but in dark psychology, change isn't in the apology, it's in the pattern. 23. You think you lost because they left, But some exits are blessings in disguise. When someone walks out, sometimes peace walks in. 24. You think you're over it, but it still shows up in how you hesitate, how you second guess, how you don't trust joy. You didn't heal, you adapted. 25. You think awareness makes you cold, but in reality, it finally gives you the emotional firewall you were never taught to build. 26. You think over-apologizing makes you humble, but in dark psychology, it teaches others to skip their guilt and dump it on you. You weren't fixing things, you were absorbing them. 27. You think second chances are mature, but patterns don't change because you waited. They change when they're interrupted. Forgiveness without correction is emotional inflation. 28. You think being busy means being productive, but it's often how people avoid facing who they are when things go quiet. 29. You think your fear of conflict makes you peaceful, but in reality, it makes you silent where your boundaries should be loud. 30. You think detachment means you've healed, but numbness is sometimes just trauma wearing quiet shoes. 31. You think ignoring a problem will shrink it, but in dark psychology, silence doesn't kill chaos. It feeds it in private. 32. You think being emotionally strong means not crying, but true strength is letting it out without apologizing for it. 33. You think you're low energy, but you're likely just exhausted from fighting invisible battles no one else sees. 34. You think proving your worth earns you love, but people who love you don't need a resume, they need presence. 35. You think being agreeable will protect you, but to manipulators it just makes you easier to script. 36. You think staying in control makes you safe, but hyper-control is often the child of betrayal, not confidence. 37. You think over-giving shows care, but constantly over-delivering teaches people to underappreciate. 38. You think avoiding pain is smart, but sometimes pain is the only way your system can scream for a change. 39. You think you need closure from them, but some people avoid closure so they can stay open as an option. 40. You think emotional detachment is power, but disconnecting from your heart doesn't protect it. It starves it. 41. You think being patient will make them value you, but in dark psychology, delayed attention is often used to create obsession. 42. You think people grow with time, but time doesn't grow people. Self-awareness does, and not everyone finds it. On 43, you think your good intentions are enough, but intentions without awareness can still cause quiet damage. 44. You think waiting makes you loyal, but waiting too long makes you easy to replace and hard to respect. 45. You think putting others first makes you good, but if you're always second, it teaches the world that's where you belong. 46. You think laughing off the pain makes you tough, but some jokes are actually shields you built out of survival, not humor. 47. You think staying in comfort zones is smart, but comfort is often a polished version of invisible decline. 48. You think revenge is healing, but most revenge leaves you holding the very energy that hurt you. 49. You think letting it go is mature, but sometimes that phrase is used to silence justice, not to restore peace. 50. You think people can't change overnight, but manipulators do, not to grow, but to adjust their masks more convincingly. These weren't just facts, they were mirrors, and maybe they hurt, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. If even one of these lines echoed inside you, don't ignore it. That echo is not weakness, it's awareness, and awareness is the beginning of your freedom. So don't keep this to yourself. Comment what hit you, share what woke you up, and subscribe, because we're just getting started.